I'm Robin Carey. I'm CEO of Social Media Today, and it's my distinct pleasure today to welcome Andrew Bowins to talk about the social shakeup taking place this September in Atlanta. And Andrew is the Senior Vice President of Communications, External Communications at MasterCard. And one of the great reasons for having this conversation is that you've got a very long-lasting commitment to social. I mean, you've seen it in the early days at Dell, where Dell famously overcame its problems with, with its social support, with its support through really bringing everyone at Dell into the conversation. And now you're doing something very similar at MasterCard.
Sure.
What is that the big change that you've seen, the way that social permeates and changes a company, or?
Yeah, I think if you look at the example at Dell, I had the privilege and pleasure to work with some fantastic folks in time of crisis. And it really, in a time of need, you kind of realize the importance of social connectivity, the power of taking social into real conversation and connecting with people in authentic ways. One of the great lessons I learned during those days is that my mentor always said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so make sure you listen twice as hard before you speak. And I think as social media is evolving now, that power of listening, the ability to engage authentically and learn from those conversations to help you make better business decisions, help create brand awareness and brand loyalty, and just to listen and discover what people are talking about and how your company can be relevant to them and their need is the true power of social today. And it's a really exciting time.
Well, agreed. I mean, listening seems such a simple thing to do, but operationalizing it and getting buy-in for listening and communicating to management about what you've learned, these obviously are things we're going to talk about more in September. Sure. But what are the key things that you're learning now at MasterCard about creating a structure where listening does permeate the organization?
Well, a little bit about MasterCard. We listen in 43 markets, 26 languages, and we've looked at social media, traditional, online, and web as one conversation ecosystem. And what we've discovered is that when you harness the power of listening into that and you start to be able to mine out insights, analytics, perspective that you can present back to the executive suite or the business in business terms versus how many shares, how many likes, how much potential exposure your audience is, it changes the game. And from a communications perspective, I'm most proud of our team and our accomplishment because we've moved from what we call the deli counter model, where someone shows up with a list of orders, give me half a pound of tweets, 2 press releases and an event, to bring your insights to the front of the planning process. And this power of social listening, tell us how we can use that insight to engage further and make our social media and social enterprise efforts more impactful, or as our boss says, a force multiplier to the bottom line.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I've been fortunate enough to have been invited into World Headquarters and see just how right there in the middle of your IMPay design lobby, you now have an enormous board which allows everyone in the company at headquarters to see what's going on Twitter and through all your listening channels.
Well, we're sure proud of it. We really are. But one of the testaments to our leadership was that social media is from the ground up cultural transformation. It's not just about getting your social presence established on Facebook or Twitter or whatever channel of the day. It's really infusing the culture with the need to listen, with the understanding of why at the end of every tweet, at the end of every post, there's an opportunity to engage with somebody, an opportunity to listen and learn. And when you take it as an aggregate, it becomes pretty powerful. In fact, it becomes a leader of your business decisions and how you go about going to the market. And we're having a lot of fun every day.
Well, no doubt, but you're also dealing with bankers, and knowing what little I know about the banking industry, I would imagine that there's some hard questions asked of the value of what you're doing. How do you answer those questions?
We answer with data. Again, going back to listening and the social insight, when we established 43 markets, 26 languages, it updates in real time. We have that data available at our fingertips at the beckoning. So if you're talking to the most conservative banker to the most optimistic merchant, when they see the power of being able to understand in real time, what's a consumer thinking about your business, your product, or a general category? How are people reacting to you, and how are they looking for you in a human voice to engage them? They start to change their tune about what social is. We had our challenges in the early days, but again, listening to analytics, to helping inform business decisions that then shaped our social media strategy, it's brought the most difficult executive to the most enthusiastic executive to the table with one ask: how can we do more?
Mm-hmm. And you're a global organization, as
Yeah.
you mentioned, so what about the challenges globally for social? What are you finding?
Well, you know, the challenge in the early days, and I'm sure everybody goes, who owns it?
Right.
What are we doing? And it becomes very campaign driven. We really took a social enterprise view to it, and we said there's social media, social marketing, social product, and instead of deciding who owns it, how do we all in our respective functions, us in communications as an example, add value to that equation? So we look at the organic listening, the authentic kind of conversation and feedback. We don't try to push messaging too much. We try to earn our way into a conversation. We try to become relevant in the communities, whether it's in Hong Kong or somewhere in Sao Paulo or Toronto or here in Purchase. And once we've established that base of trust, then we start to talk to people about the things we know they're interested in. And then we'll give them a little bit of flavor of the MasterCard view to things. But we found that to be effective. I'll give you one data point. We had 2 years ago about 32 million potential brand exposures a month through our ecosystem of issuers, merchants, and MasterCard itself. At that time, we had about 32 million exposures, but we only had 1% of the conversation.
Interesting.
Even
Measured.
worse, yeah, like 1% of people actually not just pushing around each other's content and actually engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And the horrifying thing for me was at that time it was 0.5% of the 1% was people actually talking about things relevant to us.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead 18, 24 months, we look at in the last year we probably had a brand exposure of about 1.3 billion.
Wow.
And we know that from the data and analytics, 560,000 people around the world took time to create conversation streams about us and liked and shared that information. So what we use the tools for is, instead of focusing on the big number, we're like, who are those 500,000 people? And what do they really care about? How can we be relevant to them? And once we started cracking that code, great things in social started happening. Early days, though, we're very, very humble about it still and a lot to learn. But I think in the essence, that's where the real value of social and social enterprise comes as a communicator.
MasterCard's been such a brilliant traditional marketer, obviously, with the Priceless campaign.
Priceless
Yeah,
cities,
I
wonderful.
think, I mean, it would be very hard to find anyone who doesn't know the association with Priceless. But has social changed considerably how you look at paid versus earned versus owned? And has it changed considerably how you're allocating your marketing and communication spend?
I think there's a recognition and an investment across the company, whether you're in marketing, communications, or product group. Marketing, what a tremendous platform to grow from. Priceless. And we're now well into Priceless Cities. One of the great programs now that they're running is Love This City on Twitter. And it's about celebrating the essence of what makes a city great, a neighborhood great, and bringing those surprise and delight examples to people through social, instead of just pushing a offer to them or pushing a piece of marketing collateral. The uptick has been unbelievable. And again, it takes us back to having an authentic conversation and an authentic kind of relationship with the people we want to do business with. So I kind of skirted your answer, but I'll tell you
a little bit.
the investment across the company as a social enterprise, both in people, talent, resources, is greater than it's been, and it's going to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. And what about the relationship that, as a communications guy and leader, what kind of relationship do you have with marketing?
We're like a big family. So I have an Irish background, so we sat at the dinner table every Sunday and we respectfully debate and challenge each other. And I think one of the great things about MasterCard now, the partnership between comms, marketing, and the product group, is that there is a great desire to win in social and a great desire to learn and not be complacent and just do what others have done. So we challenge each other every day. We try to understand what each of us are trying to achieve, but when it comes down to the end of the day, it's MasterCard, and it's the value beyond the payment that we can deliver, and it's our job to communicate that authentically and surprise and delight consumers and have them love MasterCard as much as I do.
because the marketing side has done a great job of storytelling, and you guys are doing a great job of storytelling, who gets to tell the story? I mean, and this is not a marketing versus PR question. It's more, how do you find the story?
Well, I think, to use the cliche, the brand's defined by the conversations that are happening around you, right?
There you go.
That's something I learned early on, and that MasterCard, whether it be priceless or the value story of a world moving beyond cash, your question was who tells the story? We're those that are benefiting from it. One of our social media strategies has been more of a light touch in terms of pushing content into the system, but instead creating conversation, perspective, point of view, and adding value to it, and then bringing the MasterCard story into those relevant conversations. So I'd say the consumer, the merchant, the government that participates in social with us, I bet our company owns the story. It's our responsibility to stay relevant and stay engaged and timely and contribute to those conversations in a way that they see value.
So where do you want to go from here?
Every day we're dreaming about it. It's I really think the notion of big data meets storytelling, meets traditional marketing, traditional communications. We're just kind of at a tipping point where the possibilities are going to be endless. We want to take the insights and the analytics, not to just create a big warehouse of knowledge that we can use for business, but we want to create an ecosystem that's, I call it a living story, a live conversation where, our vision as a comms guy is we're listening in real time and have the tools to allow us to produce live content on the fly that lets us contribute to whatever's happening in the social graph. Today we're about a 50-50 split of curation and broadcasting. I think that needs to go further out into, again, curation and content and less push. We sit in boardrooms all day and think that we know what people want and what's best, and then you go out and you listen on the social graph and you respond with some people and engage, and your ideas can change overnight, and you learn from that. And our whole idea as a comms group is that how do we get better at that? Listen, test, learn, and then try to innovate. The other thing I'll say is we're just looking around now for all those great young startups and those minds that have been really rethinking the social game. And there's some great companies out there that have helped us got to where we are in the journey. But we want to spark interest with the next entrepreneurs and the next big thinkers like Percolate and others that really push you beyond the traditional models. So what's next? I'm not sure, but I'm looking, and we're really eager not to be complacent in the success that we've had today.
And no doubt you will not be complacent, Andrew. Thank you so much. I know that our audience is really going to look forward to hearing more from you and meeting you in Atlanta in September. So lots more on those same themes to come.
If I can just say one thing, a lot of conferences that I attend to now, everybody has been self-congratulatory and happy about where we are as an industry and with social, and I think that's fair. But I know, Robin, that you're going to create a conference that has some debate and a little bit of healthy battle back and forth, and we're just looking forward to connecting with your community, earning our way into that conversation, and hopefully be seen as a great participant to a wonderful conference.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for being here today and for coming in September. Thank you so much.